Afterthought ReZero Season 2 Episode 22, Happiness Reflected on the Water's Surface. Jeez, ReZero, you really gonna do me like that? I mean, this isn't the first time I've gotten blue balls from an episode of anime, but when you tee up the Sanctuary's ultimate shield, Garfield Tenzel, against the bow hunter herself, Elsa Grandhirt, you just know the anticipation is gonna be at a feverish pitch. But to tease us with this first 2 minutes of episode 22, my god, don't even get me started on that face smash. Let it never be said that Garfield isn't a man for equality. I mean, just because he's fighting a woman doesn't mean he needs to pull his punches, and in fact, if he does, it's literally game over. But to add insult to injury, you're gonna catch the bow hunter's blade in your teeth? Probably one of those badass moves I've ever seen, but come on, man, think of how many gullets that thing has seen. That shit can't be sanitary. But then to cut away purely for the sake of character development? How dare you? I demand satisfaction. Now, obviously, if this entire statement flew over your head, this is a joke. Clearly, there are things that need to be accomplished before this season is over, and most of them involve people confronting and overcoming their past. And first up on that list is once again Beatrice. Now, there should be no doubt in your mind at this point in the story why Subaru refused to be that person. It's the same reason why he gave Emilia the verbal tongue lashing that sent her on her current path, and in my opinion, is playing a major factor of why he's trying so hard to win his wager against Roswell. That one must not be defined by their mistakes or hindered by their regrets. For one shackled to their past has no future, especially ones made on empty promises. But once again, rescuing Beatrice is not as easy as just taking her hand. For if Subaru were to proclaim to be that person, she is once again following the words of Echidna. Subaru realizes this. He needs to nurture her independence. She has free will, and now is the time to use it. Beatrice needs to choose Subaru to be that person for her. But before his choice could resonate with the spirit, she angrily dismisses him from the library, throwing him back into the fray. To me, Beatrice's past is one of the more disheartening. She's been following the words of a mother that have long since passed. She even admits literally everyone has left her. Still holding on to her blank gospel shows how emotionally dependent she is on her past. I mean, nowhere as maniacally obsessive as Roswell is, but maybe just as emotionally invested. So it's truly setting up a daunting task for Subaru, all while having to deal with what's going on outside in the mansion. But luckily, he is backed by friends. Garfield is taking on Elsa, Frederica is taking on Mei Li, riding what looks like a hippo with human teeth, which was very unnerving. But hell, he still has best boy Otto. I mean, even if the group, now consisting of Petra and an unconscious Rem, comes face to face with something out of your worst nightmare. I mean, I know we've come face to face with this thing before, but this time's different. Surely Otto can reason with it, right? I mean, he can talk to animals. Clearly that's a fucking joke. This thing is out for blood, and it looks like a fucking lion, devil, goat, and there's a fucking wings and shit in there. And it's just chowing down on other mobbies. Yeah, fuck this thing. Now, of course, just as the action is picking up at the mansion, we cut back to Emilia. She still has the trials to undergo. Now, seeing how the first trial covered their past, the second trial covers their present, or at least the what if. Emilia is shown this picturesque world full of happiness and contentment, but she knows this world is a lie, that this is another test she must overcome. But there is no ill will towards Echidna. In fact, she thanks the Witch of Greed, Mother Fortuna's brutish shyness, Father Guse's oblivious tenderness, and little Emilia playing matchmaker for her makeshift family. For through this illusion, she was given a glimpse of a reality that would never come to be. But upon finally confronting her past, it gave her new insight on the trials and tribulations of those she admires. That choosing a make-believe world would in fact be a disservice to everything they have sacrificed. I want to be an admirable person. I want to be the one to protect others, foregoing this false dream to achieve her real one. Relaying her choice to Archie ends the test. But before it's truly over, the Witch of Greed appears once more. This time in a more distressed state. This time, Echidna is crying, once again proclaiming her hate for Emilia. While I'm left wondering the truth, there are several possibilities why. Could she be angry at herself herself? Witnessing Emilia's ability to change and overcome her past? Could she be jealous of her support structure? Or maybe it was because in this illusion, she was given everything she desired and still chose the other world. Or could it be that the end of the sanctuary is finally in sight? I mean, I don't think we've had a discussion on what happens afterwards. What happens once the trials are all passed and the sanctuary is free? What happens to Ryuzu, that's literally the core of the barrier? What happens to the graveyard, literally the gravesite for Echidna and what looks like the other witches of sin? What's going to happen? Any one of those could be a plausible reason for her to be so emotional, or it could be one that right now I'm just oblivious to. Echidna has made her feelings for Emilia very clear ever since the beginning, so the vile things coming out of her mouth have made sense. But the tears are another story. But I know one thing for sure, I really didn't like seeing her cry. The diving into the water scene, besides looking stunningly beautiful, is a double-edged metaphor, showing how one's emotional dependence on something can skew their perception. As we see Emilia come face to face with her own reflection and remarks that she does not resemble Fortuna as much as she believed. Another illustration of how she's overcoming her past. Another way to look at this action is Emilia is quite literally diving into an unknown future, which just so happens to be the sanctuary's third and final trial. I mean, it just makes sense. Past, present, future. I mean, that is if the Christmas Carol has taught us anything, but I gotta say, I am just overly impressed. Change has come, not only to Emilia, but the world itself, as she exits the graveyard to see the entire population of the sanctuary cheering her on. Even the once apprehensive demi-humans are there to show their support, influenced by Garfield's decision to change. It's the domino effect. Emilia changes Subaru, which in turn changes Emilia, which in turn changes Subaru, which in turn changes Garfield, which in turn changes the world. I mean, this emotionally charged narrative breakthrough is something I've been waiting for so long. It's been building to this. Much like fall, this is the season of change, but there's still a lot to accomplish in these last few episodes. The third trial, the battle for the mansion, and not to mention Beatrice in Roswell. But I have confidence in our group. I finally see the end of this loop. And no, I did not mean that to rhyme. Anyways, with ReZero being fucking amazing and more next week, I honestly cannot wait for future episodes.